from Craft Beer Storm, and this is our segment called Craft Brew News, which we bring to you every week. And we have our special guest on. It's Tom Cook, who is the founder of Von Ebert Brewing. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing
awesome.
fantastic.
And they're located in Portland, Oregon. It's a great part of the world. They got some great hops being grown there, and we had a separate podcast with Tom, and we talked about his brewery. So look out for that coming up in the next couple weeks. But it's great to have you on, Tom.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So listen, our first story is TTB suspends operations amid government shutdown. Now, the TTB is the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, and they handle all the taxes for breweries. They issue licenses to breweries to open. If you sell your beer interstate, like from one state to the next, you have to get the labels approved by TTB. So as a partial shutdown of the U.S. government stretches into its fifth day, the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, the TTB, has officially closed. So they closed because of this shutdown. A temporary landing page on the agency's website states that alcohol companies will still be able to access the TTB website to make electronic payments, submit labels or formulas, and to file other operational reports, but the TTB employees will not be able to respond to questions and comments. Visit the website until the appropriations are enacted. So you can pay your taxes, but there's no one there to talk to you about it. So that's the government, isn't it? And that, yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard of two schools of thought on this particular subject. The first school of thought is, okay, nobody is holding the breweries accountable, so there's no more rules anymore. Which I don't necessarily subscribe to that
true.
mindset, but
it's the Wild West.
That's the one side of things, right? Because the TTB does handle some of the label infringement / label unapproved labels and label change investigations. And those investigations, as long as they're not criminal, have been put on hold. So that's one side of the house. The other side of the house is the side of the house that I subscribe to, which is this is one of the little known parts of the government that, unless you're in the brewing world, you probably haven't heard of the TTB. Probably don't care about the TTB. But this means that if you're in for your brewer's notice, which allows you to brew beer according to the federal government, you still have to go through some state requirements, but to the federal government, you're allowed to brew beer as long as you get your brewer's notice from the TTB. And that process can take, 6 weeks up to, I've seen people go 6 months, 9 months. That process is going to get drawn out. And that's a challenge. When you're opening a brewery, you're trying to piece about 50 different things together, and to have the carpet pulled from underneath your feet here really, really, really sucks. And then we're actually getting ready to do some new packaging, which means new labels. And we're having to put that on hold, and that really, it sucks from my perspective, but quite frankly it sucks from the perspective of these mobile canners and these mobile bottlers who rely on breweries packaging, especially the smaller breweries packaging all the time, who can't quite afford their own bottling line or canning line, that their business is going to get put in a holding pattern from the perspective of new beer, because nobody can get their labels approved because the TTB is shut down. So it's not a good thing for beer lovers everywhere.
No,
this is not a good thing.
And you're right. The trickle down effect is big for especially the labelers, right? People can't, or if you have a beer that you're ready to launch and you can't do anything about it because they're shut down. And this shutdown is not going to help like brewers who are in the queue trying to open their breweries. It's just going to be backlogs. And these things can change quickly. Like, it could be like, 45 days which me was 45 days. It was fast. Like people saying, "Oh my God, 45 days." You know, people wait like 6 months, 9 months. I think what'll happen is there'll be backlogs.
Yeah.
And then people have to wait, and then just the time will just increase. But now there's 51 employees still there. It's like a tenth of the workforce that's open during the that'll be there during the shutdown. And the article goes on, the shutdown, which White House officials have said could last into 2019, comes after Trump and the House Republicans refused to accept the short-term spending bill that would have funded the government until February 8th, 2019. And I guess these short-term bills, I mean, man, they should fix it, you know? Get a long-term bill. Stop putting patches on stuff. These guys got to get together and fix it.
Yep.
And then when the federal government shut down for 16 days in 2013, applications and label submissions were backlogged, and some breweries expressed concern that the release of new beers and seasonal offerings could be delayed as a result. And they will be delayed. Because of these, and people who want to get a winter beer out there, they're screwed. What are they? If they get backlogged, it'll be ready for May.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a spring ale come out in November of 2019.
Yeah, it's just the volume that goes through there too. It's just and then just plugging it up. It's just not a good thing. Not a good thing. But TTB is very integral in the brewing scene and the brewing world. TTB is kind of if you can't get TTB approval, you can't do anything. Pretty much.
I do find it interesting that you can still pay your taxes, but everything else.
Oh, you can pay your taxes. There's no problem. But if you want us to do anything, approve anything, sorry, we're going home. We'll be at home.
Yeah.
All right, like the government.
Yeah.
So next story is Canopy Growth eyes the U.S. market following the Farm Bill signing, and this is a whole story around cannabis. So the Canadian cannabis company Canopy Growth Corporation announced plans to enter the U.S. market shortly after President Donald Trump signed the 2018 Farm Bill into law on Thursday. Canopy Growth will participate in the American market now that there is a clear federally permissible path to that market, Canopy CEO and Chairman Bruce Linton said in a press release. Consistent with the spirit of the Farm Bill, Canopy Growth will participate in ways that support American farmers. Canopy offered no further details. However, the company stated that it is well positioned to enter the U.S. market as a result of get this, $4 billion with a B investment from Constellation Brands, as well as its deep hemp-specific portfolio of intellectual property acquired from Colorado-based Ebu Inc. There's a lot of money going into this, and the 2018 Farm Bill just decriminalizes industrial hemp and allows the cultivation and a more widespread concentration of the variety of cannabis sativa plant that, according to the bill, contains less than 0.3% THC. And news of Canopy's plans to enter the U.S. market comes just 2 days after the world's largest beer manufacturer, Anheuser-Busch InBev, announced a research partnership with Canadian cannabis company Tilray to explore the creation of a non-alcoholic beverages infused with THC and CBD. These big guys are getting into this cannabis-infused beverage thing. I mean, look out.
Yeah, I have to say I'm a proponent of this. I think it's a good idea. There are a number of breweries here in the state of Oregon that are doing some level of, whether it's CBD beer or CBD drinks that are non-alcoholic, and I think it's a kind of the Wild West right now. I read an article. It's probably been 7 years, 8 years. I'm sure somebody will find this, and I'll probably get something wrong here, but it was something about how Philip Morris had essentially retooled one of their tobacco plants to be able to handle high volume marijuana processing. And this is from the THC side of things, but essentially package joints, I guess, into something very similar to a cigarette, and that they had retooled it because cigarette production had fallen so low that they were going to shut down the facility. And so they invested tens of millions into this retool. And the second that the federal government and along with state governments approve THC, that with a flip of the switch, Philip Morris would essentially be the largest producer, or maybe I should say manufacturer, of marijuana joints in the world, with just this one plant, one facility, one manufacturing facility. And you look at some of these big guys, Constellation, that's a lot of Corona to be investing. And there is a lot of money in this. And I think that to be the first to market and to be the biggest to market is going to be an important growth part of these huge, whether it's a beverage company or cannabis company, it's going to be a huge part of the growth market that is hard to ignore. I mean, the money is there, the margins are there. These big guys have to grow to keep their shareholders happy. And, it's kind of if you don't do it, if Anheuser-Busch doesn't do it, and obviously Constellation is going to do it. And if Constellation doesn't do it, then Heineken is going to do it. And if Heineken doesn't do it, then Miller Coors is going to do it. Either you're going to do it or your competitor is going to do it, and they're going to zoom right past you. But I'm a proponent of it. I think this is good news. Industrial hemp is good.
Well, it gives, I don't know. Is it legal in Oregon? It is. I don't know.
Yeah. Recreational.
Massachusetts has just passed. And it was just live. New Hampshire, I don't think so.
It's been very interesting in Oregon, in that it's been kind of, should I say, kind of fast and loose in the state of Oregon, where marijuana has gotten, again, on the THC side of things, marijuana has gotten extremely cheap in Oregon because a lot of the farms and manufacturers overproduced because they were getting, so much money per pound that, how could they lose money? But the price has dropped dramatically down way, way below where the black market was prior to the legalization of marijuana. And so it's been an interesting dynamic in Oregon where marijuana prices are.
I think the quality of the marijuana is good. I guess the price went down, but I mean, I don't know what the QC, quality control of these farms are. I mean, they would have to produce this stuff to be medical grade marijuana. Apparently, is really high quality, right?
Yeah, no, and when the price has gone way down, but the laboratory testing requirements and the quality assurance that is regulated by the state of Oregon is phenomenal. There's every T is crossed. They down to testing multiple plants within the same lot for THC content, and this is a highly regulated environment. It's just when supply outpaces demand by that much, that you have no choice but to lower the price. But the quality, I think the quality is where it should be, at least from the lab, what the labs are putting out and what farms are regulated.
Well, these Canadian companies are not wasting any time. I mean, I think it was just a couple months ago where the whole country was like, okay, it's legal now. Everybody okay. And they're just wasting no time. These Canadian companies, they're just getting into it. This is a huge. Yeah. I mean, I heard somebody was looking into it in Massachusetts, and they said it's like a huge profit margin, like crazy. It's a great business to get into. I mean, for the dollars and. New Hampshire, you gotta legalize this stuff. Help a brother out here. We have equipment. We could do some CBD. Imagine that, right? I'll be right there. I got to look into it. I got to lobby.
Yeah.
We're going to Concord tomorrow. We're going to lobby. All right. So the next question, the next story is Arcadia foreclosure auction postponed. Another brewery, unfortunately, has gone into foreclosure. A December 20th foreclosure auction of Michigan's Arcadia Brewing Company has been delayed, according to mlive.com. All these stories are being brought to you by Brewbound, by the way. Karen Hecken, a certified court officer who handles mortgage foreclosures in Kalamazoo County, told mlive.com that auction was postponed for the next 7 days, but due to the holidays would likely be adjourned until January 10th. The Kalamazoo-based craft brewery had fallen behind $1.4 million. Wow, behind on its mortgage. However, the brewery founder Tim Surprise told Brewbound earlier this month that he was in discussions with the potential strategic partners that would help the company avert foreclosure. So, yeah, Arcadia is another brewery that went. I guess they borrowed a lot of money, and they were $1.4 million behind on its mortgage. I mean, that must have been a huge mortgage, I guess.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. It kind of sounds like the landlord might have purchased the equipment for the brewery, and that they were paying rent on not only the space but also possibly the equipment, because $1.4 million. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. It's really sad to see. It's tough to see your brothers kind of have to fold their cards, or and it sounds like the owner feels like he might have some strategic investors that can help him get through this. Speaking from kind of my perspective, I think every brewery owner at one point sits down, looks himself in the mirror, and kind of says, "Did I make the right decision by investing this type of money into something I'm extremely passionate about?" But I think everybody questions whether they made the right decision, and I think it's a tough environment. And you just kind of have to plow through it, but it doesn't make it any easier. It's tough.
Yeah, I feel bad when I see these stories, but I understand what you're saying about looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, what am I doing? I mean, wow, because it's a roller coaster, and it's a lot of money that you put up front. I mean, I did it on my own. It was like my 401k, but well, we're still alive. I'm 4 years in, and we're pivoting, and there's some promising stuff in the horizon. But larger breweries that just plow into it and then just build these massive breweries, and then they just can't keep up with the debt. That what they have, the bank payments. I mean, they just come in and they take over. It's horrible. I've seen it happen. Yep. It happened locally here in New Hampshire, and I've seen it around the country, and it just keeps happening. So it's just all the more reason to stay a little bit smaller and kind of pivot and just not go nuts in the beginning until you can proof a concept and then go forward. But and our last story, advertising watchdog Miller says Miller Lite can claim more taste than Bud Light and Michelob Ultra. How about that?
This is great news. This is I know there are many brewers who read this and said, well, does that mean that we have a legal precedent to say that all craft beer is more flavorful or tastes better than any of the beers listed in this lawsuit? I'll be honest, that's one marketing scheme that crossed my mind. But this is The attorneys, I'm sure the attorneys did very well on this.
But anyway, in response to a challenge by Anheuser-Busch, the National Advertising Division, NAD, has found that Miller Coors has proven a reasonable basis to claim that Miller Lite has more taste than AB brands, Bud Light and Michelob Ultra, according to a press release from the Better Business Bureau program, which monitors national advertising campaigns for truth and accuracy. However, the NAD recommended that Miller Coors stop using its Know Your Beer commercials that appear to show the conclusion is based on a taste test. So these guys are bickering amongst each other. Well, they make massive amounts of beer. And, you know, I don't know. I guess they can go at it. And it's just entertainment.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. They're truly solid entertainment value.
But, you know, these beers, I mean, everybody has their beer, and, you know, you can't, as long as somebody drinks beer. That's what, you know, I interviewed John Kimmick of Alchemist, and I'm like, John, what can people tell people about drinking craft beer? He's like, you know, as long as somebody drinks beer and they're a beer level, I like them. As long as they drink beer. So, you know, people have their preferences. What we're doing here is we're trying to educate people that there is an alternative to this mass-produced beer. And I bet you if you tried one of your local craft beers, you'll be like, oh, damn. I mean, these guys don't know what they're talking about when they say one beer tastes better than the other, you know. So, and there you go. There's our last. So we ran the gamut today. You know, the TTB. We have cannabis. We have our foreclosure, and we got the two big boys bickering about which beer tastes better. So there you go. That's the beer news of the week. And you know, Tom, I appreciate you being on. And I need to get up there. I need to get up to Portland. I will at some point. There's a lot of places I need to go to. Germany, Portland, Chicago. Every week it's like, oh, I got to go there. But I will, and I will. I'm going to do a tour.
Well, I'll understand if you go to Germany first. I really will.
Yeah. No, I'll probably end up in Portland first, I think. Well, you were in the same country, so I could fly out there. But yeah, no, I appreciate you being on, and you know, I wish you well in your brewery. What if people want to get connected with you? How do they do that?
Yeah, so on our website, my email is on our website, as well as a little form if you want to fill it out, and it comes straight to me. But my email is T as in Tom, S as in Snake, Cook at VonEbertBrewing.com. And again, our website's VonEbertBrewing.com.
Excellent. All right, Tom, I appreciate you being on, and you know, we'll talk to you soon. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, guys, if you like what you heard, you like the podcast, you like our guests, please go onto iTunes, leave us a rating, leave us a review. That means the world to us. Subscribe. That's the only way we can get moved up in the rankings and get the word out to more people that there is an alternative to watered down mass-produced beer, and that's great local craft beer. So guys, help us out. I appreciate it. Until next time, take care.